We are live. Still can't hear Liz, but we're getting there. And she's still muted, so it's going great.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Morning.
Good morning. Oh man.
Time change is just ridiculous. It's not like we don't already get up early.
I know. There's so many like TikToks
I
and
know.
stuff about the time change. It literally
Did
cracks
we
me
do
up.
it? Did we save the daylight? Did we do it?
No, we went backwards because now we have zero daylight.
I know. But I'm just cracking up. I know exactly what you're talking
Oh
about.
man, I want daylight keep time. Well, say it's supposed to be savings, but that's in the spring. So let's just spring forward and stay forward. Because last night at like 8 o'clock, I thought it was 11.
Oh,
I
I
was like,
know.
oh my God, it's 11 p.m. No, it's not 11 p.m. It's
Say,
freaking
yeah.
uh 8. It was 8:13. I was like, oh my God, I need to go to bed. And it was 8:13. I'm like, I hate this. But it goes on for a while. So very
I know.
frustrating.
Well, and I don't I don't mind waking up when it's dark. I mind it when it's fucking dark at 5 o'clock. That is
Yes.
what drives me bonkers because then you're just
Yes.
like, yeah, I'd rather be in bed right now at 5
No,
p.m.
it is early. It is light early because this morning I woke up at like 4 and I was like, nope.
Not yet.
I was like, I gotta go back to sleep till my alarm goes off because I had an alarm set for 5 a.m. and I was like, please let me sleep till 5 a.m. Of course, the next hour was shit show sleep. So,
Yep.
oh, good times, good times.
Good
Anyway,
times. Good
yeah,
times.
good times. So we are
Well, we're
live on
back.
YouTube for the first time. I know. And this is like something that we haven't uh or we didn't I don't think we thought we would do for a while,
Yeah.
but we're like, fuck it, let's just go for it. So we are doing it and we'll still have our podcast on Spotify and Apple every other week until the foreseeable future, until we go back to once a week. But for now, every other week, so that we can finish our flipping book proposal shit.
Yes. And it's
We've got to get that
literally
done.
like this last push has been
I
just
don't know
insanely
why.
hard.
Literally,
This
we have hit a few different bumps in the road.
milestones. Well,
Yeah. Well, when we were rewriting, that was very tough and it was hard to get going. Once we got someone to edit and help with that, that
that
gave us
pushed
a little bit of
us.
a push.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were like, okay, we've got this. And then now we're like, okay, we're ready to send something. And shit, we've got to get this proposal. Well, we want to get it perfect the first time.
Right. We're trying to do it right. And that
Yes,
makes it just more pressure. And then
for
I'm
sure.
also like, we don't need to have it perfect, but also both of us
We
have
want to
that
have it perfect.
both of us have that bone in our
I
picking bodies
know.
where we're just like, nope, it's gotta be right. Liz is
I
always like,
know.
I'm not sure what I can do. Cause the funny part about that is that we both have like layers of perfectionism in us,
Oh my
and
gosh, so
they're
much.
different on different things, but
Yes, for
they're
sure.
also are both of us have them. So it's
Yes.
like, ah,
Yeah. It's very
but
annoying. It's
it
annoying, but also productive sometimes. So it is what it is. But we will get it done and then we will be back every week. Um, but for now, this is our weekly podcast or our bi-weekly
bi-weekly.
podcast. Bi-weekly podcast. So here it is.
Here it is. Here we are. Turn here and there we
Yeah.
are.
How's your week been?
Oh, it's a shit show. Every week has been a shit show. But this semester, and I don't know, I've talked to my students about this too, and my clients. For whatever reason, like this, I think it means good things. I'm choosing to view that the shittier this fall semester has been, like the better the spring of 2024 is going to be. Like it
Okay.
cannot come soon enough. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, this means that good things are happening. They're down the road because you can't have the good until you have the bad, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what we can all look forward to because that's how I'm fucking choosing it to look at.
Yes.
Oh,
FYI, I need that sweatshirt.
oh, I get a lot of comments on this one. This is
It's the best one ever.
I'm gonna shout out to my girls, Strict Scrutiny podcast, and they are effing amazing. They are like my fellow Supreme Court nerds. Unlike a large most of the population, I actually listen to oral arguments. And it's fucking amazing. I sit in my car. I'm sure people are just looking at me like I am just completely crazy loony bins. But I'll listen. And Ketanji Brown Jackson is such a breath of fresh air on the Supreme Court. Oh my God. In her tone of voice,
yes,
she is like, what the fuck are you actually trying to say? And she does it so well without actually saying that. I'm like, girl, you like, she wins the award in passive aggressive, like completely cut your legs out from underneath you. It's so good. Anyway,
that's amazing.
So this is merch from Strict Scrutiny.
Okay.
Which is my girls on this, they're on Supreme Court podcast watch. What they've done, and it's so cool, is like they don't dumb it down. They tell you what the issues are, and then they bag on them so hard. It's so funny. Anyway, like they just make fun of them because they're just like, I don't know what they're thinking. Like, where are they living at? You know, and I have no idea what they're doing right now or where they're making that decision. But yeah, I get a lot of I wear this to like volleyball, and
yeah,
somebody will ask me a question and I say something and they're like, well, I just assume you disagree. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I was wearing this sweatshirt. It's good. How was your week?
Amazing. My week has been very weird. I've had like the weirdest work week. And today I had to, or we have, what do we have going on? Oh, we have a thing at OSU. So with the food truck. So it's been crazy. I have got a massive feat overcome, which was getting our food delivered. And so I feel extremely happy about that because
that's a big
we have
deal.
been going to Oklahoma City like at least twice a month to get product. And it's been such a challenge to are you leaving?
I have to get a paper towel real quick. I'll be
we can back. See you.
I know. I know. I have to get a paper towel. I spilled.
Okay. So anyway, we have found a supplier to it looks so funny with you in that background.
I know.
Walking away and then walking back in the screen. So now we have somebody who's bringing us or delivering our food. Yeah. And then we've got a local grocery store that also is going to work with us to supply beef. So I'm like so stoked because this will save me at least, I'm going to say at least 10 hours a month minimum. So it's literally epic, plus the diesel and all the things that we have to drive back and forth. So time is money. And so
that's a big fucking deal.
Exciting. It's a big deal. It's a big fucking deal. So I've been working on this for like literally 5 or 6 months to try and get it organized, which seems like such a stupid thing, but it has literally been that much time. So finally, and today we're getting our first delivery.
Yay!
Excited. We have a wedding we're catering on Saturday, so prepping for that starting tomorrow. So anyway, it's been a lot of food truck week, but also I've been busy at work. My alteration business is like literally insane right now. I'm like, what the heck? I don't know where all these people come from. I guess it's what happens when you list your business on Google. And there's not a ton of people that do the things. So anyway, but it's exciting. I'm staying busy. You know, things are going good. So This week has been just crazy, but
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
getting a
I
breath of fresh air.
literally am realizing that I just took on too much this semester and didn't schedule
Yeah.
myself enough downtime, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
next semester, definitely not going to check that box. I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to plan it a little bit better. But yeah, learn,
Hmm.
live and learn.
Sure. Okay, so what are we going to talk about this week?
Oh, I don't know. Let's just talk about the Supreme Court. I could do like 7 hours of like podcast about the Supreme Court right now.
Okay. I don't think
Oh,
we want to hear that rant because it's
no,
literally all it would be is just like
nobody would
such
care. It would
all
be yelling into the abyss.
yes, literally
People do
yelling
not
into
pay
the abyss.
attention unless it's slapping them in the face on a daily.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yep.
we are going to do a
Define
define
this.
this, and we're doing a how to. So we're
Okay.
back to our regularly prescribed podcast. What is our define this?
Is mother. So we're both mothers. And it means something I think different to everybody.
Absolutely.
But the actual definition is a noun, and it's a person, a term of endearment used to refer to a woman or girl who is admired. That doesn't even make any sense.
You're a dear mother. I don't know.
Yes. Yes. I'm like, no, this does not make any sense. I pulled up the wrong thing. Hang on. So
Okay.
mother is I mean, obviously it's a noun. But what is the full meaning of mom? So people can be called mom and not be an actual mother, like birth, and you
Yeah.
can still be a mom. I think that it doesn't necessarily mean that you have given birth to a child. Whereas if you have given birth to a child, you are a mother.
Right.
But mom, I think, is more of a, like I said, a term of endearment. So like people who have adopted children or fostered children or whatever, those can be called moms. I mean, I have like 27 adopted children who call me mom. Not really adopted, but just, they were like kids that were in my life while they were growing up. They
Yeah.
were friends of my kids, of
Friends of your
friends of
kids.
my
Yep.
children. Yes, and call me mom. So I mean, mom is like, you know that I feel like is a term
It's
of endearment.
yeah.
um I have a girl that I work with that calls me mom sometimes. Actually, she always does, even though she has a mother. But it means something different to everybody. And I think that for me, um it means something that I am taking care of my children. I love my children so much. I have 3 daughters who all are extremely different. How that happened, I don't know. It's very interesting to see how your children can be raised in the exact same environment,
But that's
which
not true. We've discussed
situations
this.
do what?
That's not true though, because we've talked about this. So when your roommate one was born,
Yes.
you and your husband were in a very different place in
Well, sure.
time, and you were very different people in time
Yeah.
than you were when you had roommate number two. So
Mm.
it's not the same environment for the same kid. You're very different people when the second one comes around. You're in a very different spot in life.
And then we're
So
very,
each
very different when roommate 3 is born, of
correct.
course.
So even though you
But
say it's the same environment, it's
right.
really not, because it's very, very different for each of those.
Well, what they
Because
were born into for sure.
yeah,
And I feel like number 3 had a little bit more of an advantage
because I
as
was her
far
mom.
huh?
Because I was her mom.
No, because well, yes, for the first month and a half of my child's life, Haley or Rachel was mom because I was postpartum
Mhm.
depressed full blown.
Absolutely. Well, it
I
was so
literally,
traumatic.
it was something that you didn't talk about back then. Nobody talked
Well,
about
we
it.
didn't
Nobody
talk about it. We
even,
didn't really know about it.
we didn't even
And
know. Sure.
you had such a traumatic birth experience with that one in
Yes.
general. So
Yes.
you were just, you
And
were
I had two other children that were under 3. So the fact that that was the case, I guess under 4, because Grace was almost 4.
Yeah.
Roommate 1. I keep saying names. I apologize to my children. But anyway, my first one was born and she was like the center of the universe. And then number 2 comes along and she's only 15 months old. She had no idea what to think of her. And actually, she told me for probably the first 13 years of her life, she wishes she was an only child.
This is true.
Yeah, it's very true.
I remember her saying that to you.
Yeah, she would say, I wish I was an only child. So she was very angry that I had another child because it took away the time that I was spending with her.
Absolutely. And that's normal.
Yeah, I think that is normal. When number 3 came along, I mean, my second one was 2.5. So, she was just like, throw another one into the mix, but with my depression, and I think that lasted a good year, honestly. I did not even know what I was doing. I was still dealing with figuring out who I was.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to deal with life outside of a cult.
Yep.
And just trying to find my place in this world.
And being a mother and a wife.
Yeah.
And trying to find balance with work and,
Sure. My roommate 1 asked me recently in a 2 a.m. Snapchat tirade because she has thoughts like me. She wakes up and thinks about stuff, but instead of just like trying to let them go away, she turns on Snapchat and starts chatting with me. So I think I woke up the other morning to probably 40 minutes of Snapchats from her where she was talking about how if I waited until my kids were gone to unpack shit. And I'm like, oh no.
That's not how it works, honey.
No, there was literally no way. I think the first probably, I'm going to say 15 years after leaving the cult, I was still unpacking all of the shit. There's so much to, and I was learning as I went. I had my role model of my mother, which, there were certain aspects of her raising me that I could look to and say, okay, good role model. But there was so many that were vastly different from the experience I was in because my mom was in a cult. She raised us completely in a cult. She followed everything they said by the letter of the law. And we were to fall in line. I was not raising my children that way. I felt like there was no communication growing up. So not necessarily no communication, but really no
talk about things.
You don't talk about stuff. If you have an issue with something, no, you don't talk about it.
You just shut up and
shut up and you just follow along with the rules. And I was like, I don't want that for my children because I, at that time, was so confused in my life that I wanted to talk about everything.
I know.
So, yeah. So, like with my kids, I was like, I was talking to them about having babies when they were like 7. You know, I'm like, this is what happens. I would point stuff out to them and I'm like, you guys need to be careful. I talked to them about having sex way early because I was a mother of 3 daughters and I was like, no. And also I talked to them about if somebody was doing something to them wrong when they were little.
Yeah.
It literally scared the shit out of me that my children would be abused.
Yeah.
And to this day, it still scares the shit out of me. And they were abused.
Yeah.
Later on in life, as teenagers and up. But what I'm saying is, I communicated with them so much that I thought that was the right thing to do. I missed so many signs. Because in my own mind, I was trying to prevent what happened to me by like people you trust and people you know and people that are in your life to take advantage of you. And I mean, I taught them to question authority.
Yeah.
Not necessarily mine, although they did all the time.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I know, they literally, so to this day they challenge me. They, they are very good at telling me how they feel.
Yeah.
I think there's times they don't, but I do think that they have an easier time communicating with me than I did with my mom. So that was a
Well,
really
I
big
think it's
thing
not
for
that they
me.
have an easier time of it. It's probably still just as hard for them to talk to you sometimes as
Okay,
it is
that's
for
true.
us to talk to mom. But I do think that, and I don't think it's hard for us to talk to mom. I think we're both really good at just saying
Yeah,
how we
yeah.
feel.
Well, now,
But you've opened a pathway of communication where it's not a one-way street. So ours
right,
with mom was a one-way, plumbing system. It was top down. There was no, conversation back
Mhm.
and forth about why we were doing something or what it
Right,
meant because we were doing something. It was just, this is what you do it, shut the fuck up, don't say a word about it.
yeah,
You can't complain, you can't question, you can't
sure,
right, you can't even have an issue with it, or if you do, you
right.
can't say it and you have to cover it up and right, oppress that, suppress that inside of you.
For
So
instance,
they
here's the
have
go
a
ahead.
little bit of a permission and an agency to actually ask you and to question and to talk with
Yeah,
you about it. So you have a conversation rather than a dictatorship.
yes, yes. So, for instance, I remember one time I was in first grade, and I was in first grade for a very brief period of my life because I skipped grades. Skipped about half of first grade. So I did half of first grade and half of second grade. Um, but when I was in first grade in the beginning, there was a teacher that I had that uh, I got in trouble at school for something that I didn't do. And she told my mother, and my mother believed that teacher over me 100%. And she beat my ass, like literally. And to this day, I remember it. It did not happen. I
You
swore
were
up and
so
down.
burned. You're still so burned about that.
I'm still so burned about that.
I
Yeah.
know.
But that is one of the things that I took with my kids. When authority or their teachers or their principal or whatever would tell me something that they did, I would have a conversation with them about it. And there were times they were in the wrong, of course, but there was several times where I was like, I see your point. And, all this. So basically, I stood up for them and I took their side in many situations. And I mean, we talked about the other day, my girls were like talking about how um I did stand up for them and I went to bat for them many times. Whereas my mom, and it wasn't because she did not love us, it was because she was brainwashed into believing that anybody in authority was correct and anybody under them was incorrect. And that was drilled into her brain. It was drilled into our brains too.
Yeah.
But once we got old enough to start thinking for ourselves, we started to question everything and then it began to all fall apart. So
Yeah.
anyway, what about you? What is your mom's stuff?
Um, I think I struggle and I still think I struggle with
Of
being a mom.
course.
I
Yeah.
think that I doubt myself constantly because I knew what not to do,
Yeah.
but I don't know that um I don't know that I ever knew what was correct to do. And like you always say, and I think you're absolutely right on this, every kid is different. Well, luckily, I only had the one, at least the one I know about. So it was just me and her for most of my motherhood. It was just roommate four and I.
Mm-hmm.
And I just constantly doubted myself. Thank you, therapy. Sometimes I would work through it. But also, like you, I think that I had a little bit more time because I was the old maid in the family in terms of having a child.
What
Because
were
I
you,
waited
24 or 25?
24. Yeah, I waited until I was 24. That's like
Oh
old
my
maid.
gosh.
I know.
Well, no, actually, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So I did have a little bit more time to deprogram from the cult
Sure.
without being a mom first, which
Yeah.
had some advantage to it, but that didn't change the fact that I was still having to process, my relationship with our mom,
Mhm.
my relationship with how I wanted to be a mother, right? And
Sure.
and myself in
Sure.
terms of what I was dealing with as a mom. So I again and everyone, I've had a few people ask me that over the years, how do you feel about motherhood? And I'm like, really fucking like, you know, uh like I have a huge contention with it. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's fucking beautiful. I think it's disgusting. I think you're right. Like I have contention with it. I think that it's hard. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do.
It is the hardest thing.
It is painful. It
Mhm.
is, arduous. It is
Emotional.
emotional. It is
Oh,
physically, emotionally, mentally just completely draining. It is not
sometimes.
fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It is.
Yeah.
It is fucking beautiful. And that maybe that is because, right? Or in spite of, right? All of those things
Sure.
that it is rewarding because you do you do not get to be the end all be all for another human being, but you are responsible for them and how they do look at the world, and you
Yeah.
shape their viewpoint. Everything that you put into them is going to come back out at you and at the
Oh
world
yeah.
later on. My first 2 years were actually it was about 18 months were just to like so stressful, so challenging. I feel sick to my stomach thinking about it now. Um, about when mine was 18 months, I was in therapy at the time, which was good. I needed to be. I made a decision to because I was a helicopter parent. I was like, you won't go outside, you won't talk to anyone, you won't do anything with anyone that I'm not there for. So it was literally like a physical leash that I put on myself to my child. And then what I worked on myself in therapy is sort of the conclusion that I came to. And I think you did in your own way too come to the same conclusion that you can't protect them.
Yes.
You
All the
can't.
time.
You can't.
There's no
And
way.
the only way to really try and protect them is to train them about the world and let them
Yeah.
experience it and talk to them and go, you know what? And so then my one guiding principle came to me like, okay, my one job is to make sure that they're a decent human being
Yeah.
and that I prepare them how to be a grown up. That's it.
Well, and that is, I think, the biggest challenge,
Yeah.
preparing them to be a grown up. I mean, seriously, because the world changes so much and so many things change, and you
Oh my
can
God.
prepare as much as you think you can. Like, even for, I mean, I was groomed in the church to be a mother.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what
Absolutely.
you do. You get married, you have children,
Uh,
and you support your husband. Like, literally, that's what you do.
yeah.
Gotcha. And
I
so, go
There's
ahead.
way too much kale in that shake I just made, and uh, you know how you do like I put blueberry and kale in there. Uh, Hold on, there's way too much kale. I gotta
Okay,
add
no,
some
no
stuff.
vomiting.
It's so gross. I'm listening. I'm here.
Okay, so I've lost my train of thought, but basically,
You were groomed to be a mother.
yes. So that's what you did if you were female. And so I thought that this was exciting when I got pregnant. I was definitely shocked. We had planned to wait 5 years, but I mean, if you would have,
Honey, you had a honeymoon baby.
I mean, yes, definitely had a honeymoon baby and possibly the first time we had sex. Who knows?
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, we tried some preventative things, obviously didn't work. As with number 2, I was on birth control and breastfeeding and still got pregnant. So
Myrtle, man.
Yes. So basically I was meant to have these children. Like they were definitely
in the cards.
Yeah. So I they were shocking. Number 3, we started talking about possibly having number 3 and boom. So we never struggled getting pregnant.
I was like, all you had to do was like whisper baby. And
yes, boom, unbelievably. So I definitely, and I had female issues my whole growing up.
Yeah.
I didn't like even start my cycle till I was much older. But and then after that, it was like a whirlwind of shit and problems. And so I had a hysterectomy by the time I was 30. So, which I thought I had a full hysterectomy.
Yeah.
Clearly, the doctor did not do a full hysterectomy because currently I am in full-blown menopause because they didn't take my ovaries.
She's hot, guys. She's hot.
They did not take my ovaries. And so I just had them removed about a month ago. So essentially, but I did have my uterus removed and I did get my tubes tied after number 3, but I still felt like I could get pregnant.
Again, all you have to do is whisper.
I was terrified of getting pregnant again. I could not have handled it emotionally. Like, because number 3 was such a hard pregnancy. It was a roller coaster pregnancy. They told me she had Down syndrome. At one point, they told me she had died in the womb. Like there was so many things.
You had preeclampsia. You had an emergency C-section. She was probably overshot by, I don't know, we figure about a month.
I think I was overdue by a month. All of my children were overdue, but she was almost 11 pounds when she was born. So she was ginormous. And then I didn't think it was my baby. Like that was all the depression talking, you know. And literally I just like ignored the world for at least 2 weeks. I think I slept and stayed on.
You didn't come out of your room.
No.
Like, at all. And
wreck.
I was pregnant with mine. I was like 6 months pregnant. No, 4 months pregnant with mine. And I was like, oh my fucking God, what have I done? I was like, if this is how it's going to be.
Literally the worst of me. Shit. Oh my God, it was the worst.
But, I know. I was there for roommate 2's birth, and that was a normal-ish.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh no, like, she came super fast. She was super easy.
Yeah, easy.
The pregnancy was easy. She was my easiest child.
Yeah.
She literally was the happiest baby in the world. She slept through the night at like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I literally hit the jackpot with that baby. Yeah. I mean, she was a dream baby for sure.
Yeah. And then I saw number 3 and I was like, oh dear God.
Yeah,
this is how it's, you know, and I just thought, oh my God, what have I done, you know?
Right.
But you know, and this whole entire topic, like, of this too, and I think like you kind of nailed it on the head a little bit, is that we goes to the how to, right? If we start talking about the how to,
right,
like we were both healing ourselves from our childhood trauma while we're raising kids, which, you know, and I think people can make, you know, what they want of that. It doesn't really change the fact that that's what we were doing, is that we knew that we had this thing that was not good for us that we went through. And we knew for fuck's sake, we weren't going to put our children through that same pain, grief, and all that.
Yes.
And so we were both healing and creating, you know, a different environment for our, you know, offspring. At the same time, we were dealing with our own personal healing. So I think that it is cathartic in a way. I think there's plenty of people who would bag on that and say that's not the way to do it. But I also think that there's plenty of people who are doing it currently.
Yes.
And who understand that sometimes you don't have a fucking choice. And
Yeah.
sometimes that is maybe one of the very best ways to do it is to just do it, right? Because come hell or high water, you were going to get pregnant no matter what. I mean, again, and that you had almost little to no control about it. Again, it goes back to that idea of like, do we really have free will? And it's like, yeah, when you really think about it, nope, because everything about our circumstances led us up to you having 3 kids, boom, 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 right?
Yeah.
Me having mine, having, me be pregnant when you had your last one, going, all of that, you raising them, without neither of us had any help, really. None.
No.
You
I had brief periods in my life of help.
Yeah.
So I think mom lived about an hour and a half away from me for a couple years. And
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so she would come to events.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to go somewhere, I could count on her if she had plenty of notice, because my mom did not date or anything while we were growing up. So when we got out of the house, my mom wanted to experience it all. So that was her priority. And it was like, in my mind at the time, I was like, that's selfish, but good for her for being selfish, because she did raise us. And so anyway, she was involved a bit when they were young. Well, then she moved away again. We moved closer to Randy's family, and I thought, this is going to be great. We're going to have I'm going to have his family helping. Oh no, not at all. They wouldn't even watch the kids after school for a couple hours. Like, it was like, I had nothing. Now, I did have the fact that if there was an emergency, I could count on them. So I will say, there was a couple situations, actually many situations of true emergency situations where my mother-in-law had to come in and take the other two because I was at the ER with one of them. But I didn't really have much help. And then my husband worked so much to
I remember him
provide
being
for us.
Yeah.
We literally he worked sometimes 70 hours in a row.
Right.
And then he'd be home for 8 or 9 hours and then go back out for 40 hours. So he was never around, especially when the kids are little. And I think he's said to me before that that's one of his biggest regrets, is like
not being
making work such a priority. But he was taught, he wasn't in a cult, but he was taught that the man takes care of the household. He grew up that way. And it took him several years to realize that money is not everything.
Right.
And, your family is so important. And as he's gotten older, and he's changed so much in that aspect where, he has changed and grown to realize that work is not life,
Yeah.
And even now, sometimes if he's not on call and someone sends him an email or a phone call or whatever, he will not respond till the next day when he's at work. He's like,
and that's absolutely how you should be.
That is how you should do it. But he didn't used to be that way. He used to, he was on call 24/7. And if they needed help because somebody didn't show up, he was there. And so, and he regrets that for sure. But he was doing what he thought was right. And that was making sure we were comfortable and we had everything we needed.
Right.
Oh my God. I have to show you. If I go away, it might go away. So I'm going to show you something. Oh my God. I'm going to die. Hang on. I'll be right back.
Oh my God. Okay. So it's just me and I've taken over the podcast entirely, folks. Just kidding. We still haven't talked about how to Biff.
Ha! Okay. So I put it on my cup and look what happened.
Long.
The hoe was lost.
No. That's
I
great.
literally noticed it was gone yesterday. I'm like, Anyway.
So, but we should move on to our how to. But that, I think that again, as I was saying, I was like, we were healing each other as we were parenting.
For
And
sure.
again, I think the timing of it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
So because you went boom, boom, right into motherhood, right out, fresh out the cult, right? I did do therapy and had some years between leaving the cult and having a child, but that didn't change the fact that once I became a mother, I still had to deal with my healing process still because of being a mother. So it's like the timing of it doesn't really matter that much. You're going to go through those same like traumatic childhood events. And, roommate one's trauma is going to be different than ours. You can't,
for sure.
No child grows up without their own version of quote unquote, trauma from whatever, childhood things they have. That doesn't necessarily invalidate it at all. It's just different. Right. And I think we were both successful in terms of like, we didn't put that on our.
Well, my kids have thanked me for not raising them in a cult.
Yes. Same. Although I'm pretty sure Macy, roommate 4, I don't think she cares that much because I don't think she listens. I do think that she thought I had potentially put her in one when she went to Catholic school in Oakland.
Oh, for sure, honey. For sure. Because it was so foreign.
It was so funny, man. And, there's no better way to look at religion in general than through like the fresh eyes of a child with absolutely no like foundational prep or background on what it is. Because at that point, it just seemed like the cultish shit that was happening in her life right then. And I was like, oh no, this is like, no, this is just straight up Catholicism, like half the world. You know what I mean? And she's like, no, I'm pretty sure she thought that I had put her in a cult.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I think it's so funny because Liz and I were chatting yesterday and we are like, what are we going to talk about? And I'm not even kidding. Like I was going to tell her the same topic. And then I was like, okay, but bouncing off of motherhood, that define this is I was going to talk about healing. And I was like, yeah, they're both so broad and they really are. But I think personal experience wise though, that's what we did though. Both of us did that. And without really having to talk to her much about it, I was like, yeah. Well, we both kind of did the same thing where we healed ourselves as we were raising our children. And that
for sure
is a part of mothering and a part of understanding who you are as a mother, because your identifier changes to being the protector, being the person who's supposed to not let them get hurt, supposed to train them about the world and how to be a grown-up. But also when you're struggling with the fact that you didn't get that either from your mother, not through intentional fault of her own, she just was believing in a whole different ballgame about how we were supposed to be raised. We then did our best to not make our kids have to go through that, really dictatorship and sort of just my rule, my way or the highway kind of relationship that didn't allow us to grow and experience the world from our own eyes without being, ostracized and terrorized and punished by the cult. And I think that that's part of the hard part of it too, is that you have to watch them fall on their face and make mistakes and do all the things that that's the hardest thing, I think. It's hard. My God. But at the same time, that's how they learn, and it is
100%. I've gotten better with that, but I used to, and still sometimes, try and bail them out or fix something. And oh my gosh, part of being an adult is learning. And so, and also it's okay for them to do things differently. That's another
Absolutely.
thing that's hard for me. Because I mean, I am a go-getter. I'm a 24/7, like I will make it happen. And my kids aren't like that. I have one that is sort of like that. I have another one who is very money motivated, which I'm always money motivated. But then my other one is just like a super free spirit and like go with the flow,
Yeah.
just
Say la
survive.
vie. Yeah.
You
Say la
know, and
vie.
yeah, she's like very loving and she's
Sensitive.
very sensitive. She's very
Artistic.
aware of people's feelings and emotions and all
Yep.
that stuff. And
She's emotionally very intelligent.
very,
Absolutely.
and she's actually super smart, but she is
They go
so
hand in hand.
different
Yep.
in that area than me. And you know, and I've suggested things to her because, you know, I want her to be successful. And she's like, I just don't have that in me like you do. And I'm like, okay, that's okay.
Well,
You know,
if we can talk about this because we talk about it all the time, mom doesn't have that.
no, no.
Not at all. And she talks about this to us. She's
Yes,
like, I don't know how like you guys just do all this stuff. Like
yeah,
she's also like very much like your firstborn. Just kind of okay, go with the flow, kind of right
yeah,
in terms of like I would say drive right drive to accomplish success succeed and stuff or
yeah.
right
Which
have your
she did some of those things.
I think
I
that was
mean,
all
she
out of
doesn't have,
necessity.
huh?
I think that was all out of necessity and I don't think she
Yeah,
did it
but like,
willingly and I
I
don't
mean,
think
she
she liked
became
it.
the CFO of a hospital, working her way up for like 25 years, you know, with no
COO.
degree for like finance. You know what I mean? Um, she had a cult church degree
She got her degree in Bible.
in church
I
in
do
teaching.
Bible.
In teaching, yeah, from their Bible college, unaccredited, which doesn't mean anything. She still worked her ass off. I remember her like taking us up. She was in college and she would take us and we would sit in the car, which this is before that was like people now would like go,
Child abuse.
what the fuck are you doing?
Child
But
abuse
she would put blankets in the
in the
dryer.
dryer. Yep.
Yes, and get them
And shove
super
them in the
warm.
back seat. We'd be
Put them
there
in
at
the
5
back seat.
a.m.
We
Yep.
would sit in the back seat and sleep while she
Until
was
school
in
started.
college because she would start at 5 a.m. Yeah.
Yep.
She would load us in the car, give us warm blankets, and we
Yeah.
would sit in the back of the car and sleep until school.
Yeah.
And then we would wake up and I don't know. I don't even know. We must have looked like horribly disheveled. But
I mean,
we just went to school, you know,
it
because
was
it was
the
all in
80s.
the same place.
It
But
was the
yeah,
80s, you know, you just let
yes.
your children go off with rando strangers and didn't really worry about it.
No, but I remember that so much. Oh my gosh. But she did work her ass off to get that degree. I mean, I did school while my children were little and I did mostly online. There was an online option back then. But I remember doing I mean, I when I went to barber school, that was something I went and I did during the day while the kids are at school and I had a sitter after school. But
Bitch,
then
I did my
I went,
undergraduate and my
yeah,
graduate program as a single fucking mom. And I
yes.
swear to God, I lost my fucking mind.
It's hard as shit. I don't know how I survived that because then I would I was trying to finish a degree and I was doing online school till like 2 or 3 in the morning after the kids were in bed. And then I would get up and do it all over again. So it was kind of a challenge, but you know, I survived and yeah, that's what you did. You do. But that's what I do.
Right. Well,
We
both
have
of
that
us are
drive.
like that though. Both
Yeah.
of us are like the same thing with the book proposals and all that. It's the same thing though. And I
Yeah.
don't even know like I tell people stories like things like this all the time and they're just like what the actual fuck? Like I don't even understand, right? You're insane. What
Yes.
is wrong with you, right?
Right.
And it's like no, that's what I had to do. I had to do that. That
Yeah.
was important to me, so I did it. You
Yes.
know, I didn't whine, I didn't complain. We just fucking did it. Well, we complain to each other all the time.
Yeah.
But you know, I do think there's absolute validity to the fact that we had each other through all of that.
Yes.
And that is really, really important. It's like There's, I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but it's kind of hilarious. And we need to wrap it up here, sister.
Yeah.
But
know.
there's this community of folks, because it's not illegal, but it's called like marry your best friend. So like no, I'm not kidding. No, it's a whole thing, because there are certain advantages to having like a legal marriage agreement with someone.
Sure.
Like not even like gay, sexual orientation and gender aside.
Yeah.
Any of that, like, but it is a movement towards like get married to your best friend for like either, you know, insurance benefits, health benefits, retirement. I mean, all the things that you could do that are important for like
there's
having a person. It doesn't mean you're sexually together. It doesn't mean,
right.
You know, any of those things. In fact, you could probably, right. It's not even polyamorous. It's just like marry your best friend. You have a person. And you know what is common about that is that all the, what are they? The blue zones, where there's the Centaurians, the people over 100 years old.
Yeah.
That is the commonality between every single one of them, is that they have a massive, like, built-in community of people around them.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that the other day.
Yep, and that is the commonality. It's not the food. I mean, there is advantages to the food and the activity level and all of that, but it is that they have each other to support themselves, regardless of whether their spouse is alive or not, regardless of their family is alive or not. They have a community. And I think that that's sort of in line with what we talked about today, like motherhood and how effing hard it is. You know, it has its huge drawbacks, but it is, right, who we are as people. It's our identifier, and it is important to us for sure. And then also the healing part, you know, and I think you and I both worked on both of those together. You know, it was like, you had a bad day, you called me and fucking bitch. Same thing for me.
That was a lot of my healing, was just having a person to talk things out with. If you don't have a person, you got to find a person.
Got to get a person. Marry your best friend movement.
Yes, like literally you need a person. My husband, I couldn't always talk to. When we were younger, we disagreed on so many issues. We disagreed on so many things. You had to figure that
stuff out though, because you were both so immature when you got married.
Oh my God, I was so immature. It's astounding to me.
I know
how I'm even survived
so
life.
That you guys are still together. Like that is, again, I'm like, I have so much
respect. It is shocking.
But y'all worked it out.
Shocking. Yeah.
You worked it out. You worked it out. Oh, okay. I've got to get ready and go to work. Yay.
Same. Different kind of work today, but same.
Yeah.
So,
hey, on your shirt the entire time, it looks like it says I have two titties.
It says titles.
I know, but I've been reading it as
I do have two titties as well.
Well, so far. Because all I could see is I knew what it said, but I've just been reading it as I have two titties. I'm like, okay.
Two titties. Anyway. Oh my gosh. Oh. Well, find a person. Find a person. Yep.
Heal your shit.
Yeah, it's hard, but it is necessary to survive.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're not gonna make it otherwise, honey.
Yeah. I don't think I'm still 100% healed, but
neither am I.
Nope.
It's a daily thing.
It is a daily struggle. It's a daily work on. It's a daily.
I certainly have my areas still need. Yep, I need to still work through. But you know what?
Talking it out to someone is literally so, because you can get it out of your brain.
Yeah.
You know, and gosh, that's such an amazing thing. I think writing the book was very healing for me.
Absolutely.
Because I put so many thoughts into that book, and I put it on paper and I wrote it out. And
you're also working through it as you're writing it. You have to think about it. You have to recall. You have to work through it. And that is
the tears.
That is a version of healing.
Yeah.
Like that is a therapeutic exercise. If you went to
absolutely
CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, or even in more intense forms of it, you'd be doing the same thing. So it's all a journey. It's a fucking journey. Find a person.
Yes.
I'm glad you're my person.
I know, me too. I'm so happy you're my person.
All right, well, this has been fun.
been fun.
I have no
Yeah.
idea what it's gonna look like on YouTube, but we'll figure that out. Anyway.
We will see. Yeah, it was awesome. We will talk to you in 2 weeks.
Yep.
So if you want to, if you have any questions about what we talked about today, or you have any comments or something you'd like us to address, or even something you'd like to ask us,
Really
ask
quick,
us
really quick.
Yeah.
Really fast. You said we got an email.
Oh yeah, we did get an email. Okay.
Is that going to be like a 50-minute conversation?
It could be a really long conversation.
So let's save that for next time.
I think we need to save it for next time.
Okay.
So next time we will start with the email. And then if you guys have anything else, we'll add it on to our next 2 weeks podcast. But sistersdeclassified@gmail.com.
Yep. Find us there. Hit us up.
All right. Bye.